गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः, देवाय तस्मै नमः। So we saw the question of Arjun was in two parts. One is, what is the state of a person in samadhi? What does that person experience when one transcends the identification with the body, mind and the intellect? And second part of the question was, what is the way in which such a person would transact in this world? So the answer we saw, once again let us read that 55th verse. Raja Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Rajahati yada kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyevatmana tushtaha Sthita prajnastadochate. So the Lord said that in that state of meditation, that person has actually dropped all the desires. Rajahati sarvan kama. So remember that the distance between me and my moksha is only desires, nothing else. The more we are having desires, the more extroverted the mind will be, the more agitations in the mind, the more we are away from our nature. Lesser the desires, lesser the agitation, quieter the mind, and such a mind can contemplate and know the truth. So, desires is equal to happiness is the equation when we live in a materialistic way. But the spiritual vision is desirelessness is equal to happiness. Because every day we experience that. When we go to sleep, we experience. Which is just a sample for us to understand very clearly that I don't need anything to become happy. Even in the absence of everything, I can be happy when the mind becomes quiet. So that is what one tries to do consciously. Now this prajahati, dropping all the desires, does not happen by willpower. It happens by maturity. And that's where the whole process of spiritual evolution is very important. That where one is able to see, having seen all the things in the world very clearly, having experienced. Some of them we don't have to experience, we can even think it out, think it through. So the first quality of a spiritual seeker is that vivek, that I can discriminate. between temporary pleasure and permanent happiness. What is temporary, what is permanent? What is real, what is unreal? And when I am very clear about that, when the discrimination happens between real and unreal, and I understand that the world is just an appearance, and the mind is just running behind it. So all that which we learned earlier in the second chapter, which spoke about the self-knowledge, where we saw that truth alone is at all times. Everything else is only an appearance. So that knowledge and that clarity, Vivek, will give rise to the next part, which is called as Vairagya, dispassion. If a person does not have these two, Vivek and Vairagya, this dropping of desires is not possible. It will only be temporary dropping, or it could be substitution, that you drop some desires and substitute them with something else. Hence, more and more satsang one does, more and more discrimination one cultivates and becomes sharp in one's intellect, in one's capacity to discriminate. If that Vivek is awakened, that is what they say, that arise, awake, go to the teachers and learn. Utteshtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan, Nibodhata. The Kathopanishad says that. So what has to be awakened in us? The discrimination has to be awakened. Vivek has to be awakened. That's the beauty of our buddhi, intellect. So a person who has done that, who awakens the buddhi, who does Vivek all the time, has the necessary courage to drop that which is unreal. That I have seen all this. Just like we drop the toys of childhood, we don't cling on to them anymore because we have seen through, and those, they don't give it those pleasures that they used to give when I was a child. One has risen above them. There is no aversion towards it and there is no attraction towards it. That healthy state of mind, which is beyond aversion and attachment, raga and dvesha, that state of mind is a calm and quiet state of mind, which will not be any more tempted by anything in the world outside. Not any more tempted even to think about any relationships. So no raga and dvesha even in relationships. Such a person can drop the desires. Such a person will not have any difficulty. It will not be that the mind is getting tempted and I have to pull it back again and again. That is a time of, that is called practice that one has to do. In the 6th chapter, Bhagavan will mention that when we come to that. That how do I master my own mind? He says two qualities, Vairagya and Abhyasa and Vairagya. So in the beginning it is the practice. I sit to do meditation, I use a mantra, I use a form, I use some breathing technique. Mind runs away, again I have to bring it back. Again runs away, again bring it back. But why is it running? It can run only because of two things. Either it is idle wandering, so then you have to bring it back. Or it is running towards something which is where it finds happiness. Thinking about someone, some way of being, some enjoyment, some pleasure. So then I have to use my Vivek. For some time I may bring it back also, saying, no, don't indulge in that. My focus is this meditation for the next 20 minutes. That is abhyas. You can bring it back. But that is not the solution. Till the mind does not get convinced that happiness is not there, it will keep running there. Hence that Vairagya is very, very important. When a person develops that healthy sense of detachment, it is not running away from life, but having seen through life, one rises above it, saying, "Bas, now what more is there? The same thing in different packages, that's all it is." So then that healthy state of mind is when one is able to drop. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan. Even if the mind goes and doesn't bother, it will eventually come back on. One focuses on this. Atmani eva atmana tushta. This I am saying in terms of practice. The man of realization, there is no practice for that man of realization. That person has dropped all desires and is already transcended the identification. So that is his state already. We are talking in terms of a practice for a seeker because then we have to do that. So sarvan partha manogatan, that person drops all the desires. When a person drops the desires, as the desires become lesser and lesser and a person rises above the desires, ultimately the desirer also is dropped. Who is this desirer? The person who feels incomplete is a desirer. That entity which feels incomplete. The other day we saw that desire is an expression of incompleteness. So when I feel incomplete, then I have a scheme in future to become complete. That is called as a desire. That entity which feels incomplete is what is the trouble, the cause of the whole sorrow, is the cause of all desires to arise again and again. That sense of incompleteness, how will it go? No matter how much I do in the world outside, I will still remain incomplete and empty. How will that sense of incompleteness go? Only when I realize the truth that actually I am not incomplete. I am that which is complete, but not aware of my Purnata. So in Hindi we always say that पूर्ण स्वरूप का ज्ञान नहीं, इसीलिए जगत में चूर्ण हो रहे. We are getting totally smashed as though in this world because we don't know what is my complete nature. So the more I think about that which is complete, that which is beyond body, mind, intellect. That is what is the next line. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. More and more I contemplate on the nature of the Atma, that it is Satchit Ananda, it is that which is complete, it is that which is blissful. That desire also drops. So Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. So in that state of meditation, this is what a person experiences. Comes back home to one's own self. Wandered for so long. That's why there was so much of trouble. When one comes home, what happens? After a whole day's work, one is tired, exhausted. Home is a symbol of rest, peace, shanti. That is our nature. Having wandered for lives after lives after lives in this samsara, one comes back home. That's why in the Guru Stotram we say, Aneka Janma Samprapta Karma Bandha Vedahine. How did he free me from all the bondages of karmas of so many lives? Atma Jnana Pradhanena. By giving me the knowledge of the self. So that self-knowledge is the most precious. So more one contemplates on that self. Atmani eva atmana tushta. So one should ask oneself, as a seeker, what is that which makes me happy? If there is still something on which I depend, I have to remove those delusions from my mind. If I still feel that money is the source of my happiness, people are the source of my happiness, that position is the source of my happiness, this situation is the source of my happiness, that place is the source of my happiness. One has to undo those. Nothing wrong in seeking any of these, but not with the false notion that they make me happy. For the functional convenience, one may even use these. But that state of permanent happiness is not from there. That is my nature alone. So the more one thinks that way and removes the false notions, the mind will become stronger and stronger, more independent. The more independent the mind is, one can turn it within and contemplate on the Atma. That person, Atmani eva Atmana Tushta. So the other day we saw the formula, stability plus ability is equal to quality plus infinity. That a person who can become stable, that stability is not just by practice, stability comes by clarity and by the courage of conviction. In fact, any change if I have to go through in my life, change can happen only if there are these three factors. Clarity is there, courage is there, consistency is there. So clarity plus courage plus consistency is equal to change. Even in ordinary, if I have to wake up early in the morning, I must not only have the clarity that why should I wake up in the morning early, but I should have the courage to tell my mind, no, don't sleep one extra 15 minutes. And I must be consistent. That every day I do it. Not that 5 days I do and then. So all the three factors are important. Clarity plus courage plus consistency. Same thing even here. I must have the clarity about what is that Atma and why the world is not the source of happiness. I must have the courage to turn the mind away from that world, and I must do it consistently. Then this state will happen. Atmani eva atmana tushta. There was one youngster who went to Gurudev and he was sitting in front of Gurudev. There was an informal satsang happening there. So he was sitting there and he asked Gurudev that, Swamiji, you were a lawyer, you were a journalist, and you were working with National Herald, and you have done your English literature. So highly qualified you are. Why did you leave all that and after all become a sannyasi? So typically he was asking, and Gurudev would love any inquisitive mind. And if the question is a skeptic question, then so definitely. If somebody says, I don't believe in God, one youngster came to Gurudev and he said, Swamiji, I don't believe in God. So Gurudev said, yes, very good, welcome. I also don't believe in God. Tell me which God you don't believe in. The God who sits in the clouds, the God who is up in the heavens, the God who produces us and throws us down here. I also don't believe in that God. And then he started the entire explanation of cause and effect and all that. So he would encourage. So here also this youngster asked him the question, why did you leave all that and become a sannyasi after all? And this boy was chewing gum that time. So Gurudev just looked at him and said, when will you spit that gum? He said, when I've chewed it enough and there is no juice left in it, I will throw it. He said, I've chewed the world enough. There is no rasa in samsara. I spat it out. A very simple statement. That is why it comes through reflection. That what is the world capable of giving me? What do I really seek? There is no hatred towards anybody. And there is no feeling of superiority that, I have left this whole world. Can I leave the world? It's not possible to leave the world. There used to be one beggar, on the other platform, there used to be a beggar. And every day, there was one man who was a professional working in some company. As soon as he gets down on that station, he will drop that 1 rupee to that beggar. He went on for quite a few years. Then suddenly one day this man found that the beggar is not there. Whole month, then another 1 month, 2 whole months passed and there was nobody there. And then after 2 months, this man found this beggar on Grand Road station. So he said, Arey, you used to be there, what happened? 2 months you were not there and suddenly now you are here. He said, what to do, my daughter got married and so in dowry I gave the other station to my son-in-law. So now I am sitting here on Grand Road station. That station belongs to him that he can give it in dowry. We say, I renounce the world. How can we renounce the world? The world doesn't belong to us only. How can I renounce the world? One cannot renounce the world. Nor can one renounce what is one's own self. Then what do we renounce? We renounce our false identification. That is all. So I have to drop that false identification. That I am not this body, mind and intellect. And the world is not capable of giving what I want. With that clear understanding, I drop my wrong expectation, false expectation of permanent happiness from an impermanent world. That has to be dropped. That is all. But that is not so simple. Because living in the same world, amidst all these things, one must have that clarity that this is impermanent. I deal with it the way I have to deal with it, but I do not have a false expectation out of it. So that is the state that a person is in, and then that person drops very clearly. Nothing can tempt that person. And here is a person who has got established in that truth. Now, how does that person move about in the world? So now we see next 17 verses. The other day when I said 18 verses, which we should chant every day, they are from verse number 55 to 72. All those 18 verses. These are Sthita Prajna Lakshana. So now one verse is about that supreme state. Now having experienced one's own self, what is the difference in the vision of that person? Now let us see, 56th one. Dukkheshvanudvignamanaha Sukeshu vigataspruhaha Vitaragabhayakrodhaha Sthitadhirmuniruchyate. So he says Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. When one lives in the world, there will be the pairs of opposites which will come. Even for a realized man. If somebody says that that person never becomes miserable, never becomes happy, does not face heat and cold, success and failure, that is a misconception. The nature of this world is Dvandvamaya. It has pairs of opposites. And these will remain. So how does a realized man differ then? The difference is Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha. The mind of that person does not get thrown off balance. There is no udvega, agitation. There is no sorrow. Sukheshu vigataspruhaha. In happiness, there is no further desire to repeat that same experience. Why is that person able to do so? Vita raga bhaya krodha. Because that person has gone beyond attachment, fear and anger. Raga, bhaya and krodha. Sthitadhir muni ruchyate. That wise sage is called as a sthita prajna. That person is established. So simple verse. This point has come earlier also. We have seen this Matras Parshastu Kaunteya in 14th verse of the same chapter. That when we contact the world outside, there will be pairs of opposites. Agamaha apaina. They come and then they go. Tan sthidikshasva. Be equanimous in them. Then what is the difference between this and that? There it was a sadhana which was being spoken about. This is the natural quality of this person. There is no effort. Effortlessly that person handles joy and sorrow in a very, very mature way. There is no question of mind getting disturbed and by effort trying to come back to equanimity. That effort part is gone because here is a man who is already established in that truth. The key of this whole verse is that one word, Vita Raga, beyond attachment. One who goes beyond attachment, sorrow cannot make that person disturbed, happiness cannot make that person excited, anger and fear have no grip on that person. Just imagine our mind, what will that mind be which is free from the grip of anger, fear, oscillation. Even as a sadhana, if we practice equanimity, there is so much of peace that one will experience. Here is a person who is already established in that truth and the person is effortlessly just living in that state, no matter what is the external circumstance. Nothing can affect that person. And enough examples of such saints. 108 times that person spat on Eknath Maharaj. And every time he went to the river and took bath, came out. Again this person spits. Again he goes there. He doesn't even ask that person, why are you doing this? No, nothing. No reaction. Not only that, that person felt so bad after it that such a saint, I have troubled him. at somebody's instigation. So he was asking forgiveness, and Eknath Maharaj says, no, you should not ask any forgiveness. In fact, I should thank you that because of you I could take 108 times the dip in this holy river. Just imagine that state of mind. A person does not even have to say anything to us. We smile and that person doesn't smile. Finished. Our mind will be disturbed. Why that person did smile? I am taking that step forward and I am giving a smile, and my smile that person did not return. Gone. Small thing. One SMS you send and the reply doesn't come in 10 minutes, gone. Mind gets so disturbed. So the person effortlessly remains in that state. Jesus Christ on the cross. And people come and ask, how long should we tolerate? Is there a limit to toleration? Can we give it back? If you look at the lives of these great masters, they don't give it back only. Jesus never said, how long will I tolerate? He said, forgive them, they don't know what they do. That's the compassion. That's the strength of the person. Even in the most difficult time, that person's mind is not disturbed. Dukkeshu anudvignamana. Again, this is a person who is established in that, so expressing that. For us, again, this is a sadhana. You can try this. We are talking about Geeta in practice, so practice. Even one day you try, in a week. You tell yourself that today I will not react. Consciously you take the decision. Today, come what may, I will not react. Especially if you know that you are going to meet somebody whose very thought can shake you up totally. Then take that resolve and go there, saying today, no matter what happens, I will not react. And don't say I won't react, because then you will definitely react. Mind doesn't know what not to do. Mind knows only what to do. So you say, I will be peaceful, I will be calm, I will be serene, I will be balanced, I will be cheerful. And even if you fail out of, let us say, 5 occasions, you manage to hold on to 3 where you are peaceful. Another 2 occasions you give in. Be happy that you did for 3. Don't criticize, oh God, see, finally I think this is my swarup, swabhav. I don't think this will change. Don't do all that. Just keep doing that sadhana. See, a lot of people want techniques, But more than technique, when the clarity is there, that why should I not react? Why should I be equanimous? Because if I want to experience this state, this is for me, it is not about the world at all. It's about me and my realization. Entire life actually is my own evolution. Others are not in the picture at all. How they respond to me is like 1% or 5%. That is all. 95% it is my own evolution and how I respond to that. Interesting analysis is there in psychology. They say that brain is a instrument which is made for self-communication. So it says that only 5 to 7% of our communication is with the world outside. 95% of our communication is with our own selves, which they call it as self-talk. And so they always say that you must have a positive self-talk. Don't have a negative self-talk. Negative self-talk when the self-esteem goes down, one feels low, depressed, and that is one of the biggest causes of dependency. When I feel low and weak, then I clutch onto somebody. So, positive self-talk. So, practice Dukkheshu Anudvignamana and Sukheshu Vigata Spruha, or any of these, Vita, Raga, Bhaya. If there is some fear in the mind, let me see how I can overcome that. By thinking, by practice, different things, fear can go. So, this is the way to practice that. When I practice it, in practicing equanimity in difficult times, at the times of sorrow, 2 things will help. One thing is called courage, dhairya. Second thing is called titiksha, forbearance. Just bear it. As it is, there is lot of sorrow. In that, don't victimize yourself and then again pull oneself down more. Then the pain is double now. Already something is not going properly. Disappointment is there, that hurt is there, that misery is there. In that I pull myself also down. And then I ask, why me, why me, why me? Bas. And there is no answer to this why. So if I practice titiksha, just bear it. It has come now. That acceptance is very, very crucial. So dhairya and titiksha in dukkha. And in sukha, what do? Sanyam and savdhani. Sanyam means self-control. Because when a person becomes happy, one breaks the boundaries very easily. You just think about it. What is the enjoyment nowadays? I always say this, that lot of people practice this equanimity in sorrow and in happiness. How? They are same in sorrow and happiness. How? In happiness also they drink, in sorrow also they drink. Same. Either way destroy yourself. What sense does it make? Typically that happens when a person becomes happy. That high is such that if it gets into the head, one will start breaking all rules. One will become proud, one can even go beyond the rules, one can even start misbehaving with somebody, one gets arrogant, anything can happen. So that's where if there is success coming our way, one has to become more alert actually. Because in success I can forget Bhagavan. I can forget other people, I can forget the teamwork, I can become very egoistic. More difficult it is to handle success than to handle failure. Failure, at least there is a consolation that I can turn to the Lord saying, why this to me? At least that Bhagavad Vichar is there. In happiness there is no such thought sometimes. Not necessary all the time, but one has to be alert. So Sanyam is one aspect and Savdhani, alertness is second aspect. I become very alert that I do not allow that success to get into the head. Grounding is very important. And that grounding comes when I surrender that success to the Lord or to a higher purpose, saying I am only an instrument. Then the person is grounded, alert. A lot of people say also when they, that award ceremonies are there and then they give award speech, so they say, I dedicate this to my mother, I dedicate this to the team, and I dedicate this to all our people who helped me to make this happen and all that. But how much of it is coming from that inner feeling that person only knows. If it is really coming from that feeling, that person remains grounded. Otherwise, gone. So, Savdhani and Sanyam for Sukheshu Vigata Spruha. In this, if one practices like this, that when it happens, I become alert. When dukkha happens, I become tolerant. That okay, this has come. As it comes, it will go also. So let me wait. The cause of both these fluctuations, in sorrow we go down, in happiness we go up. The cause of that is raga or attachment. So he says Vita raga. Why this person is able to remain equanimous? Because there is no attachment only that person has.
So Vita raga is the same word.
Raga means Vita means gone beyond. It's a compound in Sanskrit. So Vita means one has gone beyond. Beyond what? Three things. Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Attachment, fear, anger. It's gone beyond the three. So attachment, there is another word called asakti also. Asakti means attachment. Raga and asakti mean the same.
Marathi Swamiji, we refer to anger as rag.
No, but there rag and dvesh, I don't know what it means in Marathi, but in Sanskrit, rag means strong like or attachment, dvesha means a strong aversion or dislike. So See what happens is attachment only binds us. In the first chapter we saw how attachment played such a big role. In the whole Mahabharata war actually is an expression of only attachment. Attachment is the biggest obstacle. Slowly that desire becomes attachment. Brooding on the desire, that becomes attachment. So what happens is that attachment creates such an illusion in us that we feel that without it I can't live. Without the object of my attachment I can't live. And that's why this fluctuation happens. Raga and dvesha, and this attachment and aversion, they only create this. So by the word raga here you should understand dvesha also. Because you cannot overcome only one. You can overcome both. One has to overcome that, neutralize it actually. So raga also means asakti, and asakti makes us feel that without this I can't live, without that person I can't live, this object I can't live, that situation I can't live. So one saint said very nicely, he said in Hindi, he said, Jo asakti hai, wo ja bhi sakti hai. So if you reflect that attachment is because of a wrong notion, it's a wrong pattern of thought. That day we spoke about it in the first chapter, that attachment is a pattern of thinking where I equate I plus something is equal to happiness. The more I see the painful side of that attachment, the more I will be able to drop it. Whatever is that attachment. If I am attached to sleep, I have to see the pain of sleep and the pleasure of getting up early. I have to uncondition my mind. I am attached to a person. I have to think that what are the painful sides of this attachment? Why is it that I cannot live without this person? Some days ago, some years ago, I did not even know this person. And today I am in such a miserable condition that I can't live. And does that person like it? They may like the attention that you give, but they will never like that attachment and the possessiveness. Then there will be a conflict. So the more I think on that is called vivek again. So then that asakti will ja bhi sakti hai. And vita, raga, bhaya, krodha. Then that person goes beyond. The life of that person doesn't become dull. But the big difference is this. So I am going to go a little deeper in this now. That how does a thought, how do we become happy and miserable? In 3 stages we become happy or miserable. First is when you perceive something. Suppose I see a person. First stage is perception. Now that perception will give rise to a thought. That thought, depending on my background, will be a happy thought or a miserable thought. But when I see that person, I feel, he's my friend. So raga will happen. Or, I don't like this person. Dvesha happens. Till here there is no problem. Even actually this second only is already an expression of a problem, but the third stage is identification. I am happy or I am sad. That I am happy or I am sad is the cause of our fluctuation. Perception, thought, and then identification. These are 3 stages. Vedanta says Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, meaning that person is detached from not just the perception and the Raga and Dvesha, detached from that very I who creates this identification. So that person sees the thought as a thought only, not as I. That is the detachment we are talking about, Vita Raga when we say. So a thought of temptation comes into my mind, I can watch it, it's a thought in the mind. I am a witness. I am not tempted by it. A thought of anger comes in the mind. I can watch, this is a thought of anger. And you can even watch feelings, sensations happening on the body, mind getting agitated, breathing becoming shallow. But who are you? You are the witness. Completely unaffected by anything that happens. When do I lose that witnesshood? When I start identifying. A thought of anger comes, I say, I am angry. Bas, that identification is what causes me off balance, throws me off balance. How funny it would be now. If suppose there is a donkey which comes here, will any one of us sit on the donkey and go? If somebody sits, then you wonder who is the donkey. We will not do that. But we are very happy to jump on any thought that comes. Good thought, bad thought, lusty thought, angry thought. Any thought that comes, I jump. I am this. Or it's just a thought. Just like I can choose externally which object I want, I don't want. Thought also I can choose. And that is what is the training of a sadhak. In the beginning, the seeker gets carried away with any thought. Then the vivek has to be awakened. And you say, is this conducive to my sadhana? If I follow this thought, if I do this, if I behave like this, if I talk like this, if it is not conducive to my sadhana, I let it go. That's why the clarity of right and wrong, good and bad, all that vivek is very important. Nowadays, so people are wanting to jump straight from their complete attachment to the complete state of detachment. Swamiji, there's nothing called right and wrong. It's all relative. No need of doing any other sadhana. I will just be a sakshi. Very good. Try. Just being a sakshi. Impossible. Not possible only. Few days, few months, few moments I may even try. But it is not possible. Till that purity of mind is cultivated, till all that strength of the mind, till that vivek shakti is there, it is not a method of technique. You cannot become a sakshi by a technique, please. Only through the clarity and detachment I can remain as a sakshi. That thought comes, thought goes. That is not my nature at all. Just like I know clearly that this is a cloth, this is not me. Can I say that about the body? If I can say about the body that this is not me, I can remain as a sakshi. If I don't have that clarity, Bhagavan Krishna only says it, I am not saying. In the 12th chapter, Bhagavan will say, he says that those who are trying to worship the formless, and worship of formless means be a sakshi or contemplate on the nirgun nirakar atma. That is called worship of the formless. He says, klesho adhikataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir avapyate. He says a person who is trying to do this formless worship, there is more agitation in that mind of that person and more difficulty, and the person will end up in sorrow if that person is attached to the body. I have to be detached from the body. So here that is the thing. So 3 stages I said. Any experience that we go through, it will happen in these 3 stages. Perception will happen, thought will arise, identification will happen. Here is a person who at the identification level is detached. Not from perception only, not from thought only, but from the identification. That the person never feels that I am angry, I am happy, I am great, and I am proud, and I am happy, and I am tall, and I am dark. None of that. That very clearly that person knows that these are all belonging to the equipment, not to me. So that is how one becomes detached. So Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. So anger may come and anger may go also. Person doesn't get identified that I got angry. So the thought comes and goes without leaving an impression. That state of complete detachment is this. Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, Stitadhir, Muni, Ruchyate. This was as far as the objects are concerned. The next one, he extends the same thought but to the people and situations. So he says, Yas sarvatra nabhisnehaha tat tat prapya shubha shubham नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. So he says, Ya sarvatra anabhisneha. At all times the person is without attachment. Tat tat prapya shubha ashubham. Whether the person gets favorable or unfavorable circumstances. So this is about situations. Na abhinandati na dveshti. This is about people. Will not praise anybody and will not hate anybody. Tasya prajna pratishtita. The wisdom of that person is established. Meaning, here is a person, see, there are 4 types of people. The first type of person is, in Vedanta we call it as a pamara. Pamara means somebody who will break morality also to seek enjoyment. The most indulgent type of a person is called as pamara. What this pamara will do? This pamara will not bother about shubha and ashubha. He is just bothered about enjoyment. Auspicious or inauspicious, that person will not bother. He will just go and keep on enjoying. So first type of person is like that. Shubham and ashubham, both indulgent. Will not use the vivek, that what is shubha, what is ashubha, nothing. Then comes the second type of person, who is a man of indulgence, but within the limits of dharma. It's called the Vishayi. Vishayi means a person who is enjoying but will not break morality. Within the limits of morality, that person will enjoy. What is good, that person will enjoy. What is bad, the person will not want that. But that person does riding in 2 boats at the same time. Will enjoy also and will come to satsang also. Both will go hand in hand. Slowly, as the vivek of that person arises, as the person comes to satsang and understands that world is not capable of giving me happiness, then that person becomes a sadhak or a jignasu, where that person sticks only to that which is auspicious, shubham. Ashubham one drops totally. And as the sadhana becomes more intense, no enjoyment of senses that person will desire also. Because it just makes the mind extroverted, drains the energy, nothing else it will do. So that person will stick to only shubha. Whatever is auspicious for my mind to turn within, only that I will focus on. Rest all I drop. That is the state of vivek and vairagya. And that when it becomes very intense, that person becomes a mumukshu. Becomes a mukta. Where a person has completely withdrawn from everything and in the state of meditation comes to know the self. After that, this state happens. Na ashubham dveshti, na shubham kankshati. The person will not have any aversion or attraction towards anything that is auspicious or inauspicious. They both become one for that person. Because the person has dropped the basic false identification, is gone. So only such a person who has realized the truth can afford to say that I do not bother about auspicious, inauspicious, right, wrong, good, bad, because that person has gone beyond both, into the higher state. If I do not do this, if I am not in that state, and I say that there is nothing right, wrong, this, that, then I will land up as a first person, pamara. And mind plays such powerful tricks. In the name of being modern, being open-minded, being liberal, anything one does. One does not have the focus that why do I need to do some things and why do I not need to do something. It is not because the scripture is saying, you can try doing. But this is like the time-tested wisdom, which thousands and thousands of people have applied. And it says that do this, it will be good for your personality. Do this, it will harm your personality. Now, if I don't want to follow that and I want to reinvent the wheel, doesn't matter. Anyway, we Hindus believe in Punarjanma. So take Janma again and again. And by your own personal investigation and sadhana, come to attain your own moksha in your own sweet time. But if there is that intensity that I want moksha now, and scripture gives all logic that why should you not indulge? So then I follow. So for today we will stop here. If you have the commentary of Gurudev, please read. These 18 verses are very, very important ones. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.